This is the sound of zooming back and forward and in and out between someone's soul, inside of someone's soul, and zooming out to get a perspective from above, from a sequence from high above, to get the whole spectrum of depictions in mind. Welcome to the news. Oh, so as we span our mindsets continuously throughout this podcast on a day-to-day basis, we are trying to change the world a little bit at a time, and we're trying to implement the range of experiences to try to develop a day-to-day participation for everybody in the world, to try to continue to participate in this process where we change the world with games, one person at a time, one process at a time, and every person that catches onto the fire is able to start their own business more or less by going outside and being able to develop a process connecting to human beings firsthand, as opposed to the traditional sense, which in many times causes a little bit of a disfigured connection process and such things, by using just digital marketing and trying to analyze digital sequences that have to do with people's actions and engagements on social media platforms that are very inhuman and almost inhumane, to be quite honest, because they're so completely removed and strange and peculiar in comparison to what humanity actually is in a realistic or in real life known as type of experience in comparison. So when zooming out, in and out, back and forth, you want to zoom all the way into somebody's soul, inside of their soul, like so that it's in essence possible to be able to try to play games for change outside with the most reciprocal souls and the most reciprocal energy that is possible necessarily. So, if you happen to be a sports person to begin with, then it's sort of organic, I guess you could say, to try to be able to maybe conceptualize the idea of going into the game of soccer, trying to connect with the game of soccer, because the game of soccer is something that is sort of in, like, a little bit promoted within this podcast, to be able to try to connect with your first sales experience outside with the game of soccer, because it's just kind of a game that already uses the outdoors to begin with, and it's not necessarily needed to have a special field. So it's just sort of the connection, like almost like the backdrop sport to be able to try to connect all things from, because it's also the most widespread and wide accepted sport in the world. And so as everybody's trying to develop a connection to sports to begin with, it's sort of an accepted process to begin with, and that's a helpful process to begin with as well. So it's similar to things that are just widely accepted to be able to try to focus on soccer to begin with. So when you're starting your new business, and you're trying to change the world at the same time, it's good to be able to just start to bring a soccer ball outside, because a lot of people have lost familiarity with what kids' games are to begin with. And when you start to bring a soccer ball outside, then it develops the initial initiation to be able to try to call upon certain pastimes with people when they were young kids and when they played outside games and such things. So a soccer ball is sort of a symbol for that. It helps, and it's like something that we're trying to just get everybody to try to start to do. But when you're starting to use the scope of connecting, like in terms of humanity sense, when you're outside in the wild, in essence, like you're trying to bring out the animal play side in all people. And also we're trying to connect our cause and our purpose and our process to be able to try to focus on getting people to play like animals in the world, outside in the world, like animal play. But we're trying to ignite animal play. We're not trying to ignite negative animal causes and negative animal energy, negative necessarily. We're trying to focus on being a human and having the ability to think like humans, to be able to then be able to transition our energies into play and positive energies, because we're using our conscious minds and a conscious mindset to be able to ignite play like energies, not derogatory energies. And the first part of zooming in and out from the soul into the sky is being able to look at the lattice structures within human souls, being able to try to analyze human souls by bringing out first the soccer ball into the wild and trying to analyze other human beings, looking into their souls, asking them questions if necessary. If there's an illicit an item that it causes connection in the outdoors with other people because of the ball to begin with, it's because there's an interest to hopefully play to begin with. And that sort of little tidbit of a glance at the ball, of looking at the ball, is like an indication that they want to play necessarily. And so when trying to call upon the similar animals with similar animal spirits, it's like starting a business at the same time. So we're trying to combine, and we're making a fake game today, and it's a combination of soccer, skateboarding, surfing, SRF, which is a religious, like a spiritual center place, and also golf, and as well what's the other one? And as well sales. So sales with all that, but then also the item of media, to be able to document the media, to be able to bring that into social media and such things. But it's for everybody to be able to play this as a base game that everybody can start to play, to be able to bring their businesses outside, so that there's a correlation of business collaboration on the outdoors, and then cameras and such things, and different businesses can get together and play different business games, business soccer, business sports is what I meant to say, business sports, starting with soccer, and using the essence of surfing, so that you can surf down the sidewalk. In essence, you're using your SRF mindset, which has to do with spiritual science, basically, and spiritual finance is the focus of this podcast. So we're talking about playing the game of soccer, walking out into the open world, and walking with your soccer ball. And what you're going to do is try to look for other people that, in essence, you can try to hopefully kind of interview. We're trying to lead by example with this, doing this at the same time by starting to develop content. We're trying to develop hopefully monetary energy flow in a more significant way, and trying to bring different strategies to the forefront, in essence, and trying to just the little by little. And that's why we're not trying to focus too heavily on one or another. We're trying to bring them to a place of a center, which is similar to liquid coming to a center of a plate, in essence. And so more or less, you go outside, you go, and you're meant to walk around with a soccer ball, and you look into people's souls, and you try to read them with questions and such things. If you see them glancing at the soccer ball, you ask little questions to try to dig into their lattice structures. Their lattice structures are little interconnecting items that weave out their personality traits under their skin. In essence, under their skin. So they have two core lattice structures: the outside external one, which is the surface one, which helps to protect who they are as a person on their surface level and such things. So you want to get into the second layer of the lattice structures inside of them, which is basically the call to action layer of their lattice structures inside of them, where you can call them to action because they respect you enough, they have enough connection because you have enough connection with them. And fundamentally, if you're able to connect with them about the ball, the soccer ball, if they see a soccer ball and they get turned on by a soccer ball, meaning they want to play the game of soccer ball with you, in essence, just the game of the essence of games. If they're a game player, that's a corresponding soul in a parallel soul, and to be able to ignite their call to action, their ability to call to action as well. You can try to call them to games by looking into, asking a couple questions, by getting into the second core lattice structure of their personality traits. In essence, the first core is just surface level, trying to focus on this and that. But if you can dig into inviting into the ability to play a game, you're getting into their electrical circuitry, and you're trying to ask questions that correspond to who they are in the deepest sense of more or less bringing out trust as well by focusing on games to begin with. And as well, when you first approach them, when you first try to walk up to somebody new, if you're asking them a question, or you're trying to sell something, for example, you're trying to tell them about a cause, for example, you're trying to tell them about a new business, for example, you can merge with them like a surfboard, like you're surfing them as a wave, in essence, they're walking down the street, you have your soccer ball, so it's a little bit new. By having a soccer ball, in essence, you can either dribble it or you can have it in your hand. And as you're walking up next to them, if they seem like a similar energy, if they seem like someone who could correspond or vibe with your company, your brand, your cause, some company that you want to start, something that you want to sell, anything that you want to sell, you could have it just to be able to try to gain more energy and such things, and also just make more content for the internet to be able to try to drive more awareness, kind of like what we're trying to do, that you can have a camera as you try to go up and talk to people and interview them, in essence, but you have the ball in hand. You always want to have a ball in hand, because we're trying to make a global society. We're trying to develop a global society where we have global people trying to use the essence of the game of soccer to be able to connect to other human beings and bring out the animal instinct to play. So this creates a ritual all around the world where we're all playing games, almost like an Indian dance, or not an Indian dance, but like a spiritual dance. That's like a surfing dance where we're all surfing on the earth's surface. We're all surfing by playing games, in essence, by merging with each other and flowing with each other, by having spiritual science, and in essence, being able to flow with each other with the game of soccer, in essence, but also using it like the outside world, like the game of skateboarding, not the game, but the sport of skateboarding, where you're able to use obstacles that are happening, that are around you, to be able to make little obstacles so that the game is fun, the game is interesting. You're able to use the obstacles around you to be able to push off things, pass the ball off things, make weird things so that the soccer ball has weird things to bounce off of, just like the game of marbles, to make weird processes for marbles to ride around in, and such things, to make it fun and interesting, to be able to use the objects around you to make it fun and interesting. Plus, more people will gravitate towards the game if you're outside and you're playing the game, in essence. So you continue to want it revolve around the objects that are around you. And then also, like golf, the game of golf, obviously you have think about soccer golf in essence. So we're making up a custom game today in essence, like a custom sport in essence. Also, we're combining this with sales. We're developing a sales process because sales processes and the line of selling things is long. So you're just developing an interaction. You're developing an introduction by finding this core lattice structure connectivity, and you're developing core lattice structure connectivity all around the world. In essence, with other human being mindsets, in essence, and you're also birthing new value. You're giving birth to new value by playing these games, and we're all doing that together. In essence, by continuing to develop delegates and representation and continuous ongoing game playing activity, eliciting processes that are focused on targeting just the essence of play, which many all people understand, but there's such an inhibition, there's such a lack of this play conceptualization, that now that we have structure in line with societies, that we have the ability to overlap and overlay the essence of play on top of the foundation of the world, which we've already created in more of a civilization than ever before these days. So we can now add the layer of play on top of everything, so that hopefully all human beings have the ability to just enjoy life and focus on the essence of play, which is what the philanthropy energy grid that connects all human beings is made out of. It's the essence of play. It's the kid energy to be able to play games. So in essence, as we continue to connect our lattice structures and interweave them with other people's personalities, as you dig into other people's personalities, you find out what are the lattice structures that are the core connecting traits of their personalities by asking certain questions and getting them to become customers, or getting them to become fans of your brand, of your business. In essence, as you go out and make content by talking to people and playing games, focusing on this game of golf, skateboarding, soccer, golf, and at the same time, when you're meeting people, you're riding up to them, next to them, and you're flowing with their energy, and you pretend that they're a wave, in essence, and you're carrying the ball. Like, you can either dribble the ball or carry the ball in your hand, but either way, you have to pretend that you're a surfer and you're riding on a surfboard, in essence, and you're trying to catch the wave, and so you want to catch the wave at the right time. It's similar to making a pass to somebody in soccer. You're looking down the field for the right place to make the connection with the ball, in essence, that adds value to the game so that you can get closer to the goal of scoring a goal, in essence. And so you want them to feel that way too, just like you want to pass and set up a teammate in the game of soccer to be able to try to position themselves better. You're thinking from their perspective, like in their perspective and point of view, to be able to try to set them up for the best possible result, in essence. And that's what has to do with looking into their lattice structures of their personality, of their soul, as deep as possible, by using also SRF, spiritual science, and spiritual finance as well, to be able to get empathetic by using statistics and having statistics, but to be able to position yourself geographically as well in terms of spaces and places, which also correspond to good ways to be able to connect with people in a more fundamental way, to be able to try to vibrationally connect with groups of people, with bodies of people, with masses of people that might be in demand or corresponding or correlating to the types of energy which you're trying to sell, or types of things that you want to sell as a business, and so you want to go out and continue to make content like we're trying to lead by example by doing, but also making custom games. But this is a custom game as well. This is a custom game called Soccergolf, more or less, where you're developing a game where once you develop an interaction and an introduction to the people, that you start playing the game of soccer, because they have to be receptive to the game of soccer, because it's the most popular game in the world, in essence. And so once they are a little bit receptive to it, because a lot of people, even if they don't play soccer, they'll still pass the ball back to you. You can test it out on the street. You can go up to random people and you can pass them the ball, and they'll pass it back to you because they get it. They get the essence of play, and the essence of play is what we're trying to focus on after all. And so you just have a little goal, like in the game of golf, and you develop a little goal together. So once they pass it back to you, then you develop a rapport and an interaction, and then to be able to seal off the interaction at the end of it, if you can either maybe get their phone number or a contact info or an email address or their social media or something like that, so you can continue the interaction, because sometimes it takes 13 tries to be able to close a sale. 13 tries, 13 follow-ups, 13 emails, maybe more, maybe less, but ultimately that's kind of an average to be able to get a sale. A lot of people quit after 2 or 3 tries, but to get a sale it takes sometimes 13 times, 13 tries, 13 follow-ups. So you want to be able to have a long tail of interaction going forward into the future. So for developing future businesses, having a soccer ball, going outside and just starting this game of soccer golf, in essence, soccer skateboarding golf, in essence, is what we want to try to, we're inventing like kind of the first game today, but just for change. And it's also kind of for fun, and it's also just kind of a joke, and it's also kind of custom, but it's also just kind of like a joke, and at the same time, but like reality too, because you can go do this by taking the soccer ball outside and watching watching the influence that it has on people just because they like the essence of playing games. And it's a rare occurrence. It's a rare occasion that they have this exposure to people, to having a ball be outside in society, because nobody has had the gumption to bring balls into society on a more consistent basis for the purpose of this specific connection to business or otherwise, to be able to try to start random games with random strangers, because a lot of people feel like a focus on isolation to themselves based on how governments have been structured all around the world for a long time, because focuses are on families and individuals in the past, more or less up until the present and hopefully the future, where we're trying to change things with Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, the brand, the company in essence, as the company cause and the company vessel for our purpose as a company, as a brand, to be able to try to change the nature of the whole world, to make it a whole world family, so everybody's dynamic completely shifts, so that the global family process of the betterment of the global family good of every human being on the planet is the grand shift of our mindsets in the world, so that everybody's able to continue to play games together and no borders are necessary in the whole world, and we can bring all of these nonsense borders down to be able to consistently try to continue to play together games, different sports, and invent different sports every single day of the year. But this is a specific sport that we're inventing today, and so we want to have this goal, not just for them to pass the ball back to you, but for them, once you surf up next to them and you catch their wave and you start trying to ride their wave, and you're reading into their lattice structures of their personalities, of the different personality traits that you can see stringing together because of pre-thought about questions that you have, that you've developed, to be able to try to have them connect to your business, that are core aspects or elements of your business, or core things that you want to sell, to be able to try to start developing prospects from the outside. And then also at the same time, if you have specific interests about what their conceptual business interests are and how they might connect to your business, you can do interviews, you can ask them questions, and try to take videos of yourself trying to connect with other people outside in society, like we're trying to do, more or less, at Dinky Tech and Change for Game Studios, I suppose you could say, and such things. But regardless, you want to make this interaction, to be able to have this game, nonetheless, to be able to start to develop a CRM, to start to develop more of a list, a corporate list, to be able to continue to file in people into your emails, into your CRM, your customer attention management system for the long term of a business. Businesses are meant to be long term. That's how the good ones have been always, is long term. So that's how it's meant to be built to last. And so hopefully you want it to be built around a fun process that you enjoy doing. So hopefully this process, this game that we're inventing in this podcast today, such as Soccergolf, skateboarding, surfing, SRF. So SRF means Self-Realization Fellowship, which is yogananda.org. It's a combination of 5 religions. Anyways, go and check it out if you want. But regardless, we'll just call it Soccergolf. We're going to call it Soccergolf as the game for change in today's episode. Soccergolf is the main purpose because it brings out the animal inside of everyone, and we're trying to connect the focus of bringing out animals to have of animal shelters, bring out animals out of animal shelters all around the world, and especially in your country and your city, so that everybody knows about fostering animals, to get animals out of animal shelters, to be able to bring the play side of animals to people's homes in a temporary sense, which is what fostering is all about, to be able to rent, almost like renting animals, to be able to get the joy, to be able to remember playing, to be able to remember games, to be able to help invent new games for the world, so the world can continue to change for games, and the world can continue to invent new sports, so that everybody can play these sports for the nature of business, to change the whole world, so everybody can play in every country all the time, and all these borders are just consistent, open for sports, because different sports are going to be more popular in different parts of the world. So we want everybody to be able to travel just for the nature of sports, to be able to play the games and support the games that they best want to play, without borders being a relevant necessity going forward in the future, because that's just sort of like almost like a common decency, or a common good, or a common right, or a common respect as a human, to be able to be alive, to be able to just be able to be approximately closer, or in proxy to the games, which in sports, which mostly resonate to the type of person and the type of business that they want to be a part of and support, without any issues, any interferences. Have we fulfilled the task today? Yes, because in essence, at the end of the interaction, you want to go for the goal. You have to set up a goal, just like a basket, like if you putt a golf, it's similar to putt golf. So that's why it's like soccer golf, because it's like putt golf. You're in essence like in skateboarding. You're trying to make obstacles and fun out of current existing obstacles, so you have fun out of existing obstacles. But in essence, you want to have a pre-set up goal, like a basket, like when, in essence, like if you're trying to send like a more or less a golf ball into a cup. If you have a golf ball set up and you try to put a golf ball into a cup, that is the type of soccer golf that we're trying to set up to. So you have a pre-set up ability so that the other person can pass with you, but then they pass it into a cup. They pass it into a pre-set up goal. So once they pass it into a goal, it's like you've passed that goal together, you've passed that challenge together, you've done the thing together, you've gone through an experience together with them, you've played a game with them, so you know them that much more. That's how you're getting into the core of their lattice structure. You're getting into the core of their call to action lattice structure, because you've already had them you've called them to action, and they've taken action because they played a game with you. They played that game with you, they made the hoop, they made the basket, they had that encounter is ingrained in them. So that's the first step in the sales strategy in terms of trust building, in terms of developing friendship, in terms of customer retention management, because they are a customer as well as a friend, because they just played a game with you. So everybody's hopefully on the right track to hopefully consisting in terms of being able to consistently play games revolving around products that you want to start, sell, and businesses that you want to start, and messages and causes that you want to support, and philanthropy energy at the back end of all those causes. Philanthropy energy at the back end of all those causes. Philanthropy energy at the back end of all those causes for all the worldwide businesses. Philanthropy energy of the back end, on the back end of all those businesses and all those causes at the back end of all the businesses in the world, causing more so philanthropy energy to consistently revolve around the whole world for the philanthropy energy, global philanthropy energy, connecting grid to connect all human beings in the world through electricity, rainbow colored electricity that hopefully continues to inspire and continues to innovate new inventions of new business games for change sports. Games for change sports to be invented on a consistent, revolving, ongoing, collaborative, revolving sense. That's all for now. Thanks again, Dinky Tech. By Dinky Tech and Change for Games Studios. By Dinky Tech, Change for Games. Bye. Peace. Bye. Peace. Bye.